Voila!
How are you?
You want to help me make a video for Title I?
Sure. Come on in. Come on in, yeah.
Mr. Perry!
Hey, guys. This is Mr. Perry. You know Mr. Perry?
Yeah, for a long time.
This is Fernando, David, and Kaylee. Kaylee, we're still talking about some rules and procedures, the fun stuff. So we're doing about our rules and procedures.
Hello, Title I teachers. I'm Keith Perrick. I'm the ESL coordinator for the district, and I'm coming at you from this wonderful bouquet of resources that we have dedicated to English as a second language, ESL, ELL. This is our double-wide trailer in which we house all of our materials. And I want to show you one thing in particular, because I advocate for sustained silent reading and independent reading. What I do is order materials and organize materials based on kids' interest and reading levels. And so we have this whole wall here of that's composed of 36 boxes that contain stuff like, you can see that says Batman, graphic novels, and it contains stuff like Captain Awesome. I put Batman on the box because this one's just chock full of Batman. Well, Daniel X, Alien Hunter, kids love it. Squish. You know, just all kinds of stuff. I'm sure I'm going to pull Batman up out of here somehow. But so I ask kids, there's some Roald Dahl. I ask kids, what are you most interested in? And I write to them, they write me back. And I'm never surprised to see that kids love superheroes, you know that. So I order as much stuff as I can based on what they're interested in and what they request. And then I just tuck it into boxes that look like that. And so my teachers have a sign-out sheet, and I ask them to return those boxes once a month. They sign them out, they bring them back to our monthly meetings, and then they get another one, and they just keep it moving, keep it moving. That, in addition to my own reader, is pretty much the bulk of what I ask them to, to focus on, is to raise that Lexile level, to give their kids a chance to read on their own. Now, teachers have their preferences as individuals, so I leave plenty of freedom in their lesson design to work on writing and all the other things that make a kid literate, but we keep as the focus reading. And to me, that's the way to success. I read a lot of Stephen Krashen, and Stephen Krashen came to the conclusion in the 1970s that kids who have a steady diet of reading always match or best the comprehensive test results of kids who have a steady diet of stuff like avenues, or a steady diet of your standard basal kind of stuff. So it's kind of a jump, and I think the difficulty that ESL teachers who really want to build a strong sustained silent reading, independent reading program into their daily lesson plan, they have to battle that kind of chaos that they encounter at the beginning of the year, because kids aren't used to being left to their own devices to read. And it takes a couple weeks for kids to even kind of decide on what they're gonna read, and those couple weeks really stress teachers out, and I think that's where independent reading programs kind of die on the vine, is during the setup. But I encourage my teachers to be patient, to allow kids to cycle through stuff that they don't like, because they're inevitably going to come across a ton of stuff that they are not interested in, and they're going to put it back on the shelf. And that's what Stephen Krashen says in his writings, is that's okay. They open books and close them. That's okay. You did it, I did it. I think one of the most important points that Krashen makes is that it wasn't the line by line, step by step, don't kill me for saying this, skill by skill that taught us to read. It was what we chose, what we sat down, what we laid down and read before bedtime, which made us strong readers. So I follow that philosophy. I ask my teachers to really hammer the independent reading, and I feel like everything else kind of falls into place from that. So I know that I deliver the same message to people. Ask me, what does ESL do? And ESL does a lot, okay? A lot. The answer is a lot. But the majority of what I stress as the supervisor for the department is reading. This is my book from 2nd grade. My favorite book, the book that I most enjoyed ever was Garfield. And I trust the fact that reading stuff like Garfield, reading stuff like Tolkien, reading stuff, especially Steinbeck, for me, that's what I loved. And that's the kind of stuff that made me smart. I think if I follow that model, and if the ELs in Sumner follow that model to pursue what they're interested in literacy, then I think they come along faster than they would if we were concentrating on the readings that are prescribed in avenues. And that's just kind of philosophically where I come from as the supervisor of ESL in Sumner County.
There he is.
Okay, so let me just highlight one other thing that I've asked my teachers to do every day this year. I have asked them to share or read aloud every time they see their kids. And I have to put my money where my mouth is. So since I've already mentioned Roald Dahl, this book, The Twits, is just a fascinating book. A great book for a read aloud. Here's the summary on the back. And if you know a kid that wouldn't just be enthralled by just this repulsive couple called the Twits, this book has a plot. This book has descriptive language. This book is perfect for a teacher to read in installments to a group of kids. And that's something that I've asked all of them to do, is to challenge themselves to improve their storytelling ability, and to each time they meet a group to read aloud. I want to show you this as well, because I challenge you to find a kid that wouldn't, or okay, maybe a boy that would not be interested in this right here. This comes from a book called Super Graphic, which takes comics globally and summarizes sort of the contents of different comic books in sort of graphic organizers. So what we're looking at here is a character weigh-in, and it analyzes the characters of Marvel, DC comic books by weight. And just imagine a kid, imagine a 5th or 6th grader with very little English, yet a healthy interest in comic book characters, which comics are, as we know, are universal and in any language that these kids are going to be coming from. So look what we have. You have Juggernaut, Deathlock, MODOK, and then maybe more famously you have Bane and Beast. And so you can compare Juggernaut to the Beast from X-Men, and just kind of kids get an idea by comparison of size of these characters that they're just enthralled by. And I think that this is another example of something that kids are going to find just fascinating, and it works on you have every teacher kind of has their indicators on their team rubric that they want to hit. So if you just go down the list, the questions you could generate from something like this in just a short reading conference with a kid who you might have reading this book or might have chosen this up out of the box. The possibilities are endless. Thank you for listening, and I really want to stress that piece one last time. Sustained silent reading and independent reading is the wave of the future. Tina, I'm just checking my email. But while I'm checking my email, can you tell me what EL does?
You're not doing this, are you?
What does EL do?